Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. This is Real Leather Certified Career Coach, and welcome back to my channel, where we delve into the intricacies of career advancement, fluctuating job market, and explore the keys to career success. Today, we're talking to high school students about how to start exploring careers as a high schooler, taking those first steps towards the future you want, and finding first jobs that make sense. If you're listening to this, it's likely safe to say that as a high school student, you have yet to find your first job and are feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed. And almost everyone feels that way. Today, we will walk you through this process to help you create a game plan that makes this feel a little less scary and a lot more doable. Your first job is not just about making money, it's about building skills you will use forever. And it's also a chance to try things out before you know exactly what career you want. Think of it as practice for the workplace. All right, so let's get started here. Why your first job matters and what to look for. Well, first, you're going to look for opportunities that's going to give you skills. Skills that you will learn, such as time management, how to talk to customers, and how to work with a team. These are valuable everywhere. Second, jobs that will give you confidence. When you've had a job, you can tell stories in interviews and on your college applications. For example, if you've worked retail before and were overwhelmed, you could say something like, well, I learned to stay calm when a line of 20 customers formed. That's a skill, and it's proof that you can handle responsibility. Thirdly, it will open up options for you. A job helps you figure out what you like and, more importantly, what you don't like. And here's the best part, you don't need paid experience yet. Clubs, babysitting, sports teams, volunteering, all that counts. Employers care more about your reliability and your willingness to learn. Let's start with the most common kind of skill, which is customer service. This means working in retail stores, a cafe, or front desk. These jobs teach you communications, patience, and problem solving. And they look great on resumes. And let's look at other broader skills that you learn. If you go into tutoring or babysitting, it's a good start to building leadership skills. Lifeguard and coaching assistant teaches you responsibilities. Library aide or camp counselor teaches organization and supervision skills. And then working for a local business helps you learn how a business functions and operates. And if you are shy, many of you are, start smaller. Maybe stocking shelves or helping behind the scenes. You'll still feel confident and still build skills, and you can step into more people-facing roles as you become more and feel ready. Now, let's explore some of these types of jobs. Okay, so if some of you might already have an idea of the type of career you want and you're curious about them, so let's run through a few options. If you're someone leaning towards engineering and technology, first step would be to see if there's jobs at your local department store that has an electronics section to help triage customers as they bring in problems, and you can help them figure out which department it needs to go to. If there is a local STEM camp during the summer, apply to see if you can be a helper. So some of the skills that you'll learn from this is problem solving, troubleshooting, and again, customer service. Now, if you're somebody who is interested in business, of course, the first thing to look at is retail sales. Work at local small businesses to learn a little bit more about how an operations runs, and maybe running their social media for a local shop, answer emails, update their websites. Skills that you will learn: customer engagement, marketing, and handling money. Let's look at healthcare. Hospital volunteer is a great start. Maybe work at a local office at a free clinic to answer phones and email. Skills you learn: empathy, attention to detail, and confidentiality. But if your interest is in sports and fitness, let's look at being a lifeguard. Maybe a volunteer referee, youth coach. Look at your local community center. Skills you'll pick up there will be teamwork, leadership, and discipline. Now, if you're leaning towards journalism and media, absolutely get involved with your school paper, maybe even the local paper. social media for your clubs, and skills that you will pick up will be writing, editing, and digital literacy. Now, if you are more towards government and policy, consider campaigning for a local political office, volunteer your local government offices, maybe a library assistant, where you can learn public speaking, civic engagement. And if you are looking to teach, maybe education someday, tutoring is always a good start. Camp counselor, daycare helper. The skills you pick up there will be patience, mentoring, and communication. So you notice how each of these roles teaches skills, but they kind of overlap in certain areas. That's because these opportunities help you build foundational skills that cross boundaries and that will stay with you and you can fine tune as you move into your career. So you don't need to pick your future now. You just need to start. Pick something toward that direction and let that job help you explore. So, how do we get started? Well, let's look at a couple of practical skills here. One is start simply by picking one learning goal that you have. We don't want to overwhelm you. Do you want to practice talking to people? Maybe learn how a business operates? Figure out what it is that you like and then start choosing some of these organizations to volunteer for. Step two, where to look. Well, first off, you can always ask the adults that you know. They have a workplace and they have ideas on how your town operates. Ask your teachers, coaches, neighbors. Check your local job board if there is one, and of course, community centers and local businesses. Start with your favorite retail stores. You can connect with something that really interests you. Just don't forget what your purpose is of being there. It's to learn and not to shop. Step three, create one-page resume. Even if you've never worked before, there's still things to put on your resume, like your participation in clubs, volunteer work, sports teams, and projects. Make sure that you write short, brief descriptions of how you've learned from each activity. For example, if you are a member of the math club, or maybe leader in the math club, you can put something like you've led 20 students in a project and organized club events. If you babysit, maybe something like you cared for ages 3 to 8 and organized activities and mealtime. So you see, it's really simple. What you're trying to convey is that you have basic skills that you can lean into and grow as you branch out into paid entry jobs or volunteer work. Now, we talked about creating a resume really, really briefly. If this is something that you need help with, I have a recording on what to put on your first resume. I'll put the link below. Episode will walk you through your experiences and help you figure out which of your past activities were actually learning experiences. Okay, let's move forward. Step 4 is creating your introduction when you walk in and practicing your what's called an elevator pitch. And in your case, it's going to be very simple. You're going to go in, you're going to introduce yourself, use your name and what grade you are, and that you're interested in applying for a position for a job with their organization, and that your background is maybe babysitting, maybe you're a team captain or volunteering. This is just get you in the door, gets you started. There's not going to be a lot of expectations from you being a young student, right? So step 5 would be apply for the position and follow up. If you apply in person, make sure that you have your resume handy with you and your list of references, their names, their jobs, their email, and their phone number, and how you know them. Your references should not be family members because those are biased opinions. It should be your teachers, your coaches, if you take any kind of lessons, whomever it is that you take lessons from would be a good person to ask to be a reference for you, because these people are going to speak to your character, your work ethic, and they're about as close as you're going to get to a manager without having worked. Okay, and then if you apply either online or in person, if you don't hear anything back in a week, don't panic. You can always follow up. And following up is a really important step that a lot of people forget, because what it does, it shows initiative. It shows that you are really interested. And sometimes that's enough to get you the job. And then step 6, we're just going to jump forward. Assuming that you do get a job, you want to make sure that you start logging and collecting your skills that you've learned, and how you was applied during your job and how well you did, because this collection of skills is going to help you as you fill out more job applications and create better resumes. But let's step back a little bit. We skipped the part about getting, before getting a job, you have to go through an interview. And this can sound daunting, but I want you to know that there's not going to be a lot of expectations about you as a high schooler. We know that the employers are not going to ask about experiences and have strong expectations of skills. Really, what they want to know is, are you reliable? Can you learn? And can you get along with people? And will you want to be there? That's a really big thing. Being at a place, sometimes working is not going to be an exciting time. Sometimes it's a lot of waiting. And you need to show that you are, even though that activities are slow, that you are still very much interested, invested in learning and being there. Okay. So here's a simple way to answer questions when you're interviewing. And again, this is very simple. They're going to ask you, they want to learn about you. So they're going to ask you things that you can actually form in a story outline, right? So, example is, tell us about your fundraising, tell us about your clubs. And to convey leadership skills, you're going to want to describe the situation and share with them the action that was taken and then the outcome. So it could be something like, at the school fundraiser, I organized the cashier's table and collected money, and we raised $500, and we kept 100% record keeping. That tells them what you did, how you performed, and the outcome was a success. And if you feel nervous, remember, they're not expecting perfection from you. They know that you're young, they know that you're inexperienced. They just want you to be honest with them and to be a good person. And that you're going to be somebody who shows up if you get hired. All right. So this coming week, my challenge to you is to draft your resume. And again, check the link below if you want an episode on step by step and what to put on there. And then asking around for recommendations from adults about job leads, or create a list of organizations in your local town that you would like to approach and apply to, either in person or online. And then lastly, apply and keep applying. Don't apply for a handful of jobs and just sit back and wait. It doesn't happen that way. And you have to remember that there's going to be other people that are going to be applying for these jobs. And if you don't hear back, don't take it personally. They're just looking for the perfect fit. And sometimes you're not the perfect fit. It doesn't mean anything against you. It just means that they're looking for something different. And that's okay. This is something that we're going to have to get used to as we become adults, because applying for a job is looking for a perfect fit, both for the employer and for the applicant. All right, so bottom line, this is something that should not cause you anxiety, but anxiety is normal, right? But the more you do it, the less it becomes, the less you will become anxious. Your first job is not a lifelong commitment. It could be a summer, it could be for a few months. It's all just a learning experience, and every experience counts. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. And every job you try is practice for the next one. So I'm excited for you to take this step. I'll see you in the next episode.